After 5 years of what I thought was marriage, I walked into the county clerk's office to check my marriage records, only to find I was legally single. Had lied to me for 5 years. Turned me into nothing more than a mistress in the eyes of the law. The clerk slid a printed page across the counter, her voice flat and formulaic. Ms. Iris Bennett, according to our system, you are unmarried. An hour prior, Chadwick Hale, my husband of 5 years, had spoken to me softly over the phone. Baby, it's freezing out. Don't take too long, and I'll make your favorite sweet and sour pork ribs for dinner tonight. But now, this paper, this official stamp, ruthlessly declared that my 5-year marriage was nothing but a sick, elaborate joke. In the spouse field of Chadwick Hale's file, a stranger's name stared back at me. Brianna Cole. My fingers trembled uncontrollably around the weightless sheet of paper, like the last fragile leaf clinging to a branch in the autumn wind. That's impossible. Is there a mistake in your system? My voice came out rough, like sandpaper scraping against my throat, laced with a desperate hope that felt pathetic even to my own ears. The young woman behind the counter had clearly seen every shade of human heartbreak in her line of work. She simply shook her head, tapping her screen. The system is linked statewide. There's no mistake. Ms. Bennett, your marital status is unmarried. She paused, and perhaps it was the way my face had gone as white as a sheet, translucent with shock, that made her deliver the final, fatal blow. Mr. Chadwick Hale, however, is married. His spouse is Brianna Cole. They just filed their 5-year anniversary documentation with us last month. Last month. My brain went numb, as if struck by a sledgehammer. Last month had been our so-called 5th wedding anniversary. Chadwick had rented out the most expensive rooftop rotating restaurant in the city, gifted me a giant pink diamond the size of a walnut, had held me close as we danced in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the 360-degree night skyline. His eyes bright with starlight as Head murmured, "Happy 5 years, baby. You're the only love of my life." On social media, our sweet photo had racked up hundreds of likes and well wishes. His friends had flooded the comments, teasing, "Mr. Hale is the definition of a model husband." My girlfriends had sent a string of jealousy memes, gushing, "Iris, you married the real thing." We're all crying with envy. Love. Model husband. It was all fucking fake. I wasn't even his legal wife. So what was I? A Livian joke. A stand-in who'd played along with his charade for 5 years. Called on when he wanted and dismissed when he didn't. My name never even worthy of the official record. I stormed out of the county clerk's office like a woman unhinged. The frigid winter afternoon wind cut at my face like 1,000 tiny knives. Cold and stinging. I fumbled my phone out of my bag, my fingers shaking so badly I could barely hit the screen, and finally dialed the number I knew by heart. He picked up almost immediately, his voice still warm and smooth, dripping with the affection I'd once fallen for. "Baby, you all done?" That was fast. Chadwick. My teeth chattered uncontrollably, every word forced out through a clenched jaw. What's wrong, baby? You sound off." He hadn't sensed the storm coming yet, his tone laced with his usual fondness, even a soft laugh. "You miss me already. Be good. I'm almost done with this meeting, and I'll come pick you up right after." "Chadwick," I snapped, screaming into the phone with every ounce of strength I had left. "I'm outside the county clerk's office. My marital status is unmarried. Your legal wife is Brianna Cole. You get your ass over here right fucking now and explain this to me." I screamed so loud that passers-by turned to stare at me, but I didn't care anymore. The line went dead silent. A few seconds of quiet, endless and fleeting all at once, poured over me like a bucket of ice water, cutting deeper than any cruel words ever could. When he finally spoke again, the fake calm in his voice had shattered completely, leaving only raw, unmasked panic and terror. Iris, listen to me. Where are you? Stay right there. Don't move. I'm on my way, right now." I didn't wait for him. I never wanted to see that lying, hypocritical face of his again. I flagged down a taxi and gave the address to the place ID once called our home. A 3,000 square foot luxury penthouse in the heart of downtown, with a view of the entire city skyline. ID once thought it was the impenetrable fortress of our love. Now I realized it was nothing more than a gilded cage, woven with gold and silver thread just for me. The car pulled up to the building. I paid the fare, stumbled into the lobby, and unlocked the front door with my fingerprint. The second I stepped into the entryway, a pair of brand new pink Chanel heels, not mine, sat neatly next to Chadwick's black leather dress shoes. A massive, silent taunt. I froze on the spot, the blood in my veins turning to ice. On the living room couch, a woman with the same build, the same haircut, even the same style of dress as Messavin, parts identical, at least was curled up watching TV on Chadwick's favorite Hermes throw pillow. She heard the door open, turned to look at me, and didn't look the slightest bit alarmed at the uninvited guest. Instead, she smiled sweetly at me. Her face was like looking into a cheap, warped funhouse mirror of my own. She spoke, her voice sickly sweet. "You're home, sweetie, sweetie." She'd dared to call me that, like we were family. I stared at her, the room spinning, my stomach churning so violently I thought I'd throw up. I didn't need to ask who she was. She was Brianna Cole, Chadwick's legal, rightful wife, my replacement. Memories came flooding back to 5 years prior. I'd just been accepted to the Juilliard School of the Arts on a full scholarship, set to study fashion design in New York for 3 years. Chadwick had held me close, this 62 man, crying so hard his eyes were red, like a hurt child. "Iris, I'll wait for you, no matter how long it takes. I'll wait. When you come back, we'll get married. I'll make you the most beautiful bride in the world." I'd believed him. I'd fallen apart, overwhelmed by his devotion. To get back to him faster, I'd studied like a woman possessed, cramming 3 years of coursework into 2, graduating early at the top of my class. I hadn't told him I was coming home early, wanting to give him a big surprise. When I'd showed up at his company building with my suitcase, he'd been over the moon. He'd run to me, wrapped me in a hug so tight it felt like he was trying to fuse me into his body. The very next day, he'd moved me into this penthouse. "Iris, this is our wedding home. Do you like it?" Looking back now, the surprise had been mutual. The second I'd boarded that flight to New York, he'd found a woman who looked just like me, married her, signed the marriage license, and I'd been stupid enough to never suspect a thing for 3 whole years after I came home. We'd lived like any normal married couple. He'd taken me to meet his friends, to his family gatherings. Everyone had thought I was the rightful Mrs. Hale. Once, I'd gently asked when we'd have a wedding. He'd said, "We haven't had the wedding yet because I want to give you the biggest, most perfect fairy tale wedding the world has ever seen. I want everyone to know how much I love you." Now I knew it was all bullshit. He could never give me a wedding, because he couldn't get a second marriage license. My gaze slowly fell on the silk slip dress Brianna was wearing. "That nightgown," I said, my voice cold as ice. "I bought that last week." Brianna looked down, running a hand over the smooth, expensive fabric, her smile innocent and cruel, like a doll showing off her victory. "I know. Chadwick said I look better in it than you do. He said you're too skinny, like a walking coat hanger. You can't pull off this kind of allure." She stood up, slinking toward me like a snake, and a wave of sickly sweet perfume hit my nose, turning my stomach even more. "Don't blame Chadwick, sweetie," she said, tilting her head. Her eyes, so similar to mine, were filled with smug triumph, pricking at my already broken heart like 1,000 tiny needles. "He didn't have a choice. The Hale family is old money, one of the most powerful in the country. How could they let their heir stay single, waiting for you? You left for 3 years. Who knew if you'd ever come back? What if you'd found someone else overseas? Chadwick said he only did it because he loved you too much, was too scared to lose you. He said I was just keeping the Mrs. Hale seat warm for you until you got back. But sweetie, she leaned in, her voice dropping to a breathy whisper only the two of us could hear. Once you sit in this seat for a while, it gets so comfortable I don't want to get up. My nails dug deep into the palm of my hand, but the physical pain didn't even come close to the agony in my chest. So, I said, staring at her face so like mine, but younger, softer. Every dress he bought me, every bag, every piece of jewelry. He bought an identical one for you, didn't he? She nodded eagerly, grinning like a child had gotten every candy in the store. Chadwick said when he looks at me, he sees you. We're like two peas in a pod? Inseparable. Two peas in a pod. I laughed. And the laugh turned to tears, streaming down my face before I could stop them. I felt like a total fucking moron. Get out. The 3 words were forced out through my teeth. Sweetie, don't you have it backwards? The sweet smile dropped from her face, replaced with a pitiful, wounded pout. Her voice still oozing with the arrogance of a winner. You're the one who needs to leave. The deed to this penthouse has my name and Chadwick's on it. Legally speaking, I'm the lady of this house. Crack. A sharp, loud slap echoed through the cavernous living room. I raised my hand and hit her across the face with every bit of strength I had. She stared at me in disbelief, clutching her rapidly reddening cheek, tears welling up in her eyes. You hit me. Hit you. I stepped toward her like a lioness backed into a corner, every inch of my body thrumming with rage. You stole my life, stole my man, live in my house, wear my clothes. You're a lying, thieving little bitch. Did you really think I wouldn't hit you? Just then, the front door slammed open. Chadwick burst in like a tornado, his forehead glistening with sweat, his eyes bloodshot. He saw Brianna, cowering and crying, and then me, standing there, face cold as ice, eyes blazing with fury. He didn't hesitate for a single second. He rushed over, pulled Brianna into his broad chest, shielding her protectively, and turned to snarl at me. Iris, are you out of your fucking mind? What did you do to her? In that moment, I heard the exact sound of my world shattering completely. Crash. It was all broken beyond repair. The panic, the concern, the tenderness in his eyes, all of it was for the woman head called a replacement. All I got was unfiltered anger and blame. What the hell was I? Out of my mind. I stared at him, holding the woman head married, and laughed, a sound more broken than any sob. Chadwick. For 3 years, you held me every night, whispered my name like you meant it. You looked me in the eye and told me you loved me, planned our future. You had me design your yachts, pick out birthday gifts for your parents, run your company and your household like a real wife. And all the while, you turned around and told your legal wife I was just a temporary fling. Chadwick's face went deathly white the second the words left my mouth. He hadn't expected me to know everything, every last detail. Brianna, still in his arms, chose that moment to pour more gasoline on the fire, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Chadwick, she must have misunderstood. You have to explain to her I don't care. I just... Shut up, Chadwick snapped at her. But there was no real heat in it. He took a deep breath, trying to pull himself together, and let go of Brianna to step toward me, reaching for my hand like he'd done 1,000 times before. Iris, just calm down. And listen to me. It's not what you think. What Brianna and I have, it's just a marriage on paper. The only person I've ever loved, the only one, is you. I yanked my hand away like I'd touched poison. Don't touch me. A marriage on paper. Is the baby you're having with her on paper too? My gaze cut past him, locking onto the slight swell of Brianna's stomach, visible even through her loose loungewear. I'd spotted it instantly, partly from my trained eye as a top fashion designer, and partly from the razor-sharp intuition a woman gets when facing her rival. Chadwick froze, like a statue turned to stone. Behind him, Brianna instinctively put a hand over her stomach, a flash of panic crossing her face before it melted into the smug triumph of a woman who'd secured her position with a baby. Sweetie, How did you know? She looked at me. Tears in her eyes. The baby's only 3 months along. Chadwick said he'd tell you when the time was right. Once it was stable. Crash. The last thread of my sanity snapped completely. A baby. They'd even had a baby together. A 5-year lie. A replacement who looked just like me. A secret legal marriage. A 3-month-old baby. Chadwick saw me sway on my feet, like I was about to pass out. And finally panicked for real. He pushed Brianna aside and rushed toward me, desperate to steady me. Iris. Listen to me. The baby was an accident. A total accident. I was drunk that night. I didn't mean to. Get the fuck away from me. I shoved him away with every last bit of strength I had. Turned. And ran. I didn't grab any of my things. Didn't even put on a warmer coat. I just ran out into the bitter winter wind in my thin blouse. Like a soldier fleeing a lost battle. Broken and humiliated. Behind me, I heard Chadwick screaming my name, his voice raw and desperate. Iris. Come back. Let me explain. Iris. I didn't look back. Not once. The fairy tale love I'd been promised, the one I'd cherished for 5 years, had been torn to shreds in the span of an hour. The shards of glass dug deep into my heart, leaving me bleeding, broken, in agony. I sat in a luxury hotel executive suite like a soulless doll, staring at the wall all night. When the sun came up, my phone was blowing up. Dozens of missed calls. Hundreds of texts. All from Chadwick. Iris. Where are you? Please answer the phone. We need to talk. I'm so sorry, baby. I know I messed up. Just come home, please. I'll divorce her right now. I'll walk away with nothing. I just need you. Come back. And we'll get married today. I swear. I only love you. Always have. Always will. I swear on everything. I stared at the desperate, loving words on the screen, and felt nothing but disgust. Like I was reading a terrible joke. I blocked him on every single platform, every number. Then I called my best friend, Zoe Carter. Zoe was a top-tier trial lawyer, sharp as a blade, with a mouth that could cut a man down in seconds. When I finished telling her the whole story, my voice eerily calm, she exploded on the other end of the line. Are you fucking kidding me? Chadwick Hale is a dead man walking. That Brianna bitch too. Iris. Don't you dare move. Send me the hotel address. I'm on my way right now. Divorcing him and making him walk away with nothing isn't enough. We need to make them pay for this. Half an hour later, Zoe burst through the door, carrying a container of warm rice porridge and a fire in her eyes that promised total war. We sue him. We take him for everything he's got. You two weren't married, so we can't hit him with bigamy. But what he did is straight up fraud. He stole 5 years of your life, your heart, your youth, your talent. All of that is worth money, and we're going after every last cent of it. Plus pain and suffering. Looking at her, furious and ready to fight for me. The ice around my heart melted just a little. I shook my head. No, I don't want his money. Zoe froze. Then what do you want? Iris. Don't be stupid. Money is the only thing that hurts men like him. I looked out the window at the gray morning sky, and spoke slowly, my voice steady. I want him ruined. I want him to know what it feels like to fall from the top of the world straight into the mud, to crash and burn until there's nothing left. I want him and his precious Hale family to lose everything. I wasn't a naive little girl, or a broken housewife sobbing into her pillow. I was Iris Bennett, and however much I'd loved him before, I hated him twice as much now. If Chadwick could spend 5 years weaving an airtight lie for me, I would spend every last bit of my talent and my life tearing it apart, shredding it to pieces. Hell yes. Zoe slammed her hand on the table, her eyes blazing. That's my girl. Let's sit down and figure out how to take him and his little gold-digging mistress down for good. My plan for revenge had officially begun. Step 1. Gather the evidence. Over those 5 years, to keep me happy as his secret Mrs. Hale, Chadwick had given me a black card with no spending limit. I could come and go from his office as I pleased. Even sit in on meetings and go through files with his company's most sensitive trade secrets. Head thought it was a sign of his love and trust. He had no idea that trust was about to become the sharpest, deadliest weapon in my hands. The next day, I put on a full face of flawless makeup, a sharp tailored suit, and 10-inch heels, and walked into Hale Global Group like nothing had happened. The front desk staff all knew me, and stood up immediately. Respectful. "Good morning, Ms. Bennett." I nodded at them, and walked straight to Chadwick's corner office. He wasn't there. Perfect. I walked in without a problem, and opened his personal laptop. The password was my birthday. How fucking ironic. I plugged in a USB drive and copied every single file ID organized over the past 3 years, every piece of evidence of tax evasion, financial fraud, regulatory violations, commercial bribery, all of it. ID just pulled out the drive and turned to leave when the office door opened. Chadwick stood in the doorway, disheveled, stubble covering his jaw, his eyes bloodshot. He looked exhausted, broken. When he saw me, he froze for a split second, before his face lit up with a desperate, manic joy. "Iris, you finally came to see me. I knew you still cared about me." He rushed toward me like a wild animal, desperate to pull me into his arms like he always had. I stepped to the side, dodging his touch easily, and stared at him with cold, unfamiliar eyes. "I'm here to get what's mine." He thought I meant my personal things left at the penthouse, and nodded frantically. "Okay, yes. Whatever you want. The house, the cars, shares in the company. Anything you ask for, it's yours. Iris, just please don't ignore me." He followed me around the room like a lost puppy, rambling, desperate to explain himself. "Iris, what happened with Brianna was a mistake. A total mistake. My parents were breathing down my neck. The Hale business needed a strategic business marriage to stabilize it. I needed a wife to get the board off my back. I picked her because she looked like you. Every time I looked at her, I saw you. I swear, I never felt anything for her. Once the company goes public and everything is stable, I was going to divorce her immediately, and walk you down the aisle in a grand fairy tale wedding. And the baby was a mistake. Iris, I promise. I'll fix it." He sounded so sincere, the regret and pain in his eyes so convincing. If this had been 2 days prior, I would have caved immediately, fallen into his arms and forgiven him. But now, listening to his words, I just felt sick to my stomach. "Fix it." I raised an eyebrow, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "How? Make her get an abortion in secret, then throw a bunch of money at her to make her go away? Chadwick, you're cold-blooded. That's your own flesh and blood." He was speechless, his face turning red then white with shame. Just then, Brianna must have gotten a text that I was there, because her heels clicked down the hallway, and she hurried into the office. The second she saw me alone with Chadwick, her guard went up. She rushed to his side, wrapped her arm around his, and pressed her body against him like she was staking her claim. "Chadwick, my stomach, it hurts all of a sudden." She said it, and shot me a triumphant, taunting look over his shoulder. Chadwick's attention snapped to her immediately, his voice tight with concern. "What's wrong? Did you upset the baby? Do you need to go to the hospital?" "No." She shook her head, her voice trembling with tears. When I see Sweetie, I get scared. I'm scared she'll hit me again, and something will happen to our baby." Her victim act was flawless, an Oscar-worthy performance. Chadwick frowned, turning back to me, his voice sharp with impatience and pleading. "Iris, can we talk about this at home? Behind closed doors. Not here. It's unprofessional." "Home." I laughed. "Which home? The one with your name and hers on the deed? Or the new love nest you're about to buy to keep me locked away?" I ignored them both, walked to his desk, and picked up the folder of design drafts ID left there. "Mr. Hale, we're done here. This is my resignation letter. And this." I slammed the demand letter Zoe had drawn up for me overnight on his desk. My voice quiet but unshakable. Is from my lawyer. For the past 3 years, I've designed every core product line and brand identity for this company. Under the guise of being your wife, in now officially reclaiming the full copyright to every single one of my designs. You have 2 options. Pay me the full market rate for a top international designer, up front, for exclusive rights to every design, or pull every single product using my work from shelves immediately. And print a full public apology to me in the top 3 major financial news outlets. Chadwick's face turned green the second he read the demand letter. The company's best-selling product lines. Its entire brand identity, all of it was my work. ID built half of his design department single-handedly. Iris. He ripped off the mask of gentle devotion, his jaw tight, eyes blazing with rage. You really want to do this? After everything we've been through? After everything we've been through? I stared at him, and at the woman smirking in his arms, and laughed. This is nothing compared to the 5-year lie you and her sold me. Don't act like I'm the villain here. I didn't waste another word on them. I turned and walked out of the office. And didn't look back. Behind me, I heard Brianna's shrill scream, and Chadwick's furious roar. The second I walked out of the gleaming Hale Global Group building, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Is this Ms. Iris Bennett? Hello. My name is Kai Sterling. Kai Sterling. The name sounded familiar. I'm with Sterling Vance Partners, the man on the line said. His voice deep and smooth, like velvet. Our managing partner, Mr. Vance, is very interested in your work. We were hoping to meet with you, if you have the time. Sterling Vance Partners, Hale Global Group's biggest competitor in the domestic market. I met with Julian Vance, the CEO of Sterling Vance, a man younger than Chadwick, more handsome, calm and sharp as a blade. He sat across from me in a quiet coffee shop. His demeanor cool, his eyes sharp as a hawk's, like he could see right through you. Ms. Bennett. I'll get straight to the point. Julian slid a file across the table to me. I've seen all of your design work. It's exceptional. You're the reason Hale Global Group has the market share it does today, now that you're no longer with them. I want to offer you a better deal. The terms he laid out were too good to turn down. An eye-watering 7-figure salary, the title of Chief Creative Officer, and founding shares in the company when it went public. I have only one requirement, Julian said, his gaze steady on mine. Help me take down Hale Global Group. For good. Deal. I didn't hesitate for a second. The enemy of my enemy was my most reliable ally, especially when our end goals were exactly the same. In the weeks that followed, I worked like a well-oiled machine, throwing myself into my work completely. I organized all the evidence I'd copied from Chadwick's laptop, every dirty deal, every financial loophole, into a detailed anonymous report, and handed it over to Julian. He passed it along to the IRS and the SEC through his channels. At the same time, I led Sterling Vance's top design team, working around the clock to create a line of products that were sleeker, more functional, more innovative than Hale Global's upcoming flagship launch. And we held our massive product launch event before theirs. On the day of the launch, I stood on the stage in a custom couture suit, as the new Chief Creative Officer of Sterling Vance, and spoke confidently about my design vision to a packed room. I looked out at the sea of faces and flashing cameras, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw Chadwick. In the darkest corner of the room, in just a few weeks, had lost weight, looked gaunt and exhausted. He stared up at me on the stage, his eyes a mess of anger, regret, and a pain I couldn't even name. Brianna wasn't with him. The launch was a massive success, overnight. Sterling Vance's new products took over every bit of market share that had once belonged to Hale Global. Hale's stock plummeted, hitting limit down day after day. Everyone kicks a man when he's down. Soon enough, the news of Hale Global's tax evasion and financial fraud broke online, spreading like wildfire. That night, I got a text from Chadwick, from a new number. Iris. You won. You destroyed me completely. Can we meet one last time? To close the book on these 5 fucked up years. I read the text. And deleted it immediately. Close the book. Our story had ended. The second had married another woman behind my back. But I hadn't expected him to track me down to my hotel. Like a bad rash that won't go away. That night, I finished work late, dragged myself back to my hotel room, and found Chadwick slumped against the wall by my door, reeking of whiskey. When he saw me, his cloudy eyes lit up, and he stumbled toward me, grabbing my wrist with a grip so tight it hurt. Iris, why did you do this to me? Do you hate me that much? I struggled to pull my wrist free, but couldn't. Let go of me. Chadwick. You look pathetic right now. Pathetic. He laughed. A bitter, broken sound. His eyes red-rimmed. I have nothing left. Iris. The company is going under. My dad had a heart attack. Disowned me. And Brianna. She's gone. That fucking bitch took all the money I gave her and ran. She wasn't even pregnant. The bump was a pillow she stole from your walk-in closet. It was all a lie. Just to get money out of me. The news surprised me. But it made perfect sense. A woman as greedy and vain as Brianna would only ever care about money and status. The second Hale Global started to sink. Shed run for the hills. Isn't this what you wanted? I stared at him, cold and detached. Like he was a stranger. One less lie to deal with. You should be happy. I'm not happy. He screamed, losing control completely, shoving me up against the cold wall of the hallway. The only thing I want is you. Iris. I only want you. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I never should have lied to you. Never should have touched that woman. Forgive me. Please. We can start over. I'll give you every last share I have left in the company. I don't care about any of it. I just need you. His hot breath fanned over my face. Reeking of whiskey and desperate hopelessness, he leaned down, like a wild animal, trying to kiss me. In that moment, every bit of disgust, hatred, and rage I'd been holding in for weeks boiled over. I lifted my knee and slammed it into his stomach with every ounce of strength I had. He grunted in pain, doubling over, his grip on my wrist loosening. I shoved him away hard, stepping back to put a safe distance between us. Chadwick. Save your pathetic act. There is no coming back from this. For us. Ever. I looked down at him, crumpled on the floor, and felt no joy in my revenge. Just empty, cold nothingness. You never loved me, I said, every word a blade, cutting through every last one of his lies. You only ever loved yourself. Loved your perfect little world where you controlled everything. You didn't pick Brianna because she looked like me. You picked her because she was easy to control. Someone who'd do what you told her. Who'd carry on your family legacy. You were nice to me because my talent made you look good. Made you more powerful. Now that you've lost everything, you're crawling back to me because I'm the last lifeline you have. The only thing left to prove you're not a total failure. Every word cut through his selfish, hypocritical facade, exposing him for what he really was. He sat on the cold floor, staring up at me like he was seeing me for the first time. When did you become like this? His voice was rough. Broken. The old you. She would have cried if I so much as had a cold. The old you, I said, my voice completely calm, the last of the emotion draining out of me. The naive, stupid Iris you knew. You killed her. You buried her under that marriage license you signed with Brianna. Along with the ridiculous love she had for you. I turned away from him, pulled out my key card, and unlocked the hotel room door. Just as I was about to close it, a long, strong hand slipped into the gap, stopping it from closing. It wasn't Chadwick. It was Kai Sterling. Had been standing at the end of the hallway, and now he stood behind me, his tall frame shielding me, wrapping me in a sudden, unexpected sense of safety. He didn't even glance at Chadwick on the floor. He just smiled gently at me. Sorry, Mr. Vance was worried about you being alone. He sent me to check in. Then he turned to Chadwick, the gentle smile gone from his face, replaced with the cold, sharp focus of a top-tier lawyer. Mr. Hale, harassing my client is grounds for immediate police involvement. And if I were you, I'd worry less about begging for forgiveness and more about preparing for the joint investigation from the IRS and the SEC. Chadwick's face went completely white when he heard those words. He knew it was over. All of it. Kai didn't spare him another glance. He stepped aside, like a gentleman, and guided me into the hotel room, closing the door softly behind him, shutting out the man's despair and humiliation completely. The room was bright and warm, a stark contrast to the cold hallway. Kai took off his tailored suit jacket, draped it over the back of the couch, and walked to the small bar in the corner, pouring me a glass of warm water. Did he scare you? He handed me the glass, his warm fingers brushing my cold ones for a split second. It was comforting. I shook my head, taking a small sip of the water, feeling my racing heart slow down. Thank you. Don't mention it. He sat down on the couch across from me, his long legs crossed, relaxed and elegant. Mr. Vance wanted me to tell you that the Hale Global acquisition is in its final stages. It'll be over soon. I nodded, but didn't feel the rush of excitement I'd expected. Maybe once the rage and the need for revenge had burned out, all that was left was exhaustion and emptiness. What are you thinking about? Kai asked, his voice soft. Just how stupid I was. 5 years of my life wasted. I gave a bitter, self-deprecating laugh. No. He looked at me, his gaze steady and sincere. You weren't stupid. You were kind. And you loved deeply. He didn't deserve that kindness. His voice was like warm sunlight, melting the ice around my broken heart. 4 weeks. I'd been a soldier in armor, fighting alone on a battlefield full of thorns. Unstoppable. But in that moment, under his quiet, gentle gaze, I realized how tired I was. My eyes burned, and before I could stop it, tears welled up. I turned my head away, embarrassed, not wanting him to see me so broken and vulnerable. But a warm, broad hand came to rest gently on the top of my head, stroking my hair softly, like he was comforting a hurt animal. The touch was light, but it held a quiet, steady strength that made me feel safe. It's okay to cry, Kai said, his voice low and soft, like a cello melody. You don't have to be strong here. The tears broke free, streaming down my face like rain. I didn't scream, didn't sob. I just cried silently, letting out every bit of hurt, betrayal, and heartbreak I'd carried for 5 years. Kai didn't say anything, didn't push me. He just sat there with me, handing me a tissue when I needed it. His presence was a quiet, safe harbor. When I finally calmed down, I wiped my red, puffy eyes. Embarrassed. I'm sorry. That was unprofessional of me. Don't apologize. He smiled, pulling a small compact mirror out of his pocket and handing it to me. Look at you. Your eyes are all swollen, like a little bunny who got lost in the rain. His gentle teasing made me relax, a small smile tugging at my lips despite myself. I took the mirror, looked at my red, puffy face, and laughed. Yeah, I look like it. Are you hungry? He asked suddenly. I took the liberty of ordering you some room service. It should be here soon. I realized then that my stomach was growling. I hadn't eaten all day. A few minutes later, room service rolled in a cart full of Cantonese dim sum, har gow, siu mai, steamed chicken feet, custard lava buns, all of my favorites. I stared at him, surprised. How did you know I like this? He picked up a har yeo with serving chopsticks and set it on my plate, raising an eyebrow. I always do my homework on my clients. That night, we talked for hours. About fashion design, about traveling the world, about indie films, about street food. I was shocked at how much we had in common, how easy it was to talk to him. He was brilliant, funny, and he listened. Talking to him felt like breathing fresh air. It was nothing like what I'd had with Chadwick. With Chadwick, I'd always been the follower, the admirer. Had loved the way I looked up at him, like he hung the moon. With Kai, we were equals, two independent, interesting souls, colliding in the best way possible. He left just as the sun was coming up. At the door, he turned back to me and smiled. Iris, I forgot to tell you something. What? I asked. Sterling Vance didn't reach out to you because of Julian. It was me. He paused, his dark eyes bright with something I couldn't quite name. Something warm and bright. I saw you speak at an international design summit in Milan. Years ago, you were the only young Chinese designer on that stage. You were so confident, so bright. You lit up the whole room. My heart skipped a beat. So, he said, his voice steady and sincere. Don't let one worthless man make you doubt how bright you are. You're incredible. You deserve everything good this world has to offer. With that, he waved and left. I stood there for a long time, unable to process what had just happened. Someone had seen my light, even when I hadn't been looking for it. 2 weeks later, it was all over. Hale Global Group was acquired and restructured by Sterling Vance. Chadwick Hale was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for multiple financial crimes. Everything had ever had, his reputation, his power, his wealth was gone, up in smoke. Zoe told me that his arrogant, stuck-up parents had run themselves ragged trying to save the last of the Hale family's dignity, their hair turning completely white in just 2 weeks. But there was nothing they could do. It was beyond saving. As for Brianna, she'd vanished off the face of the earth with a huge sum of money. Some said she'd fled overseas, gotten plastic surgery, and started a new life. Others said she'd gotten into gambling, lost all the money, and was now living on the streets. But none of it mattered to me anymore. I'd gotten my justice. I'd buried the ridiculous, painful chapter of my past. I handed in my resignation to Julian Vance. He looked surprised, but respected my decision. Do you know where you're going next? He asked. I'm going to travel the world. I smiled, a smile lighter and freer than I'd felt in 5 years. I want to see all the things I never got to see. I want to find myself again. For 5 years, my entire life had revolved around Chadwick. I'd put all my dreams, all my hobbies, on hold for him. Now I wanted to get them all back. Julian nodded. Fair enough. If you ever get tired of traveling, the chief creative officer seat here will always be open for you. He was a good boss. And a good man. I bought a one-way ticket to Paris. Kai drove me to the airport the day I left, in his sleek black sedan. We didn't talk much on the drive. When I'd checked in, and was about to head through security, he handed me a thick manila envelope. What's this? I asked. Some travel guides I put together in my free time. He smiled, showing a flash of white teeth. Might come in handy. I took the envelope, holding it tight in my hand, a sudden wave of sadness washing over me. Like I didn't want to leave. Kai, I said, gathering my courage, looking up into his eyes. Are you? I wanted to ask him what he felt for me, but the words got stuck in my throat. Too forward, too much. He saw right through me, like he always did. He stepped forward and wrapped me in a soft, warm hug. His chest was broad, and he smelled like cedar. Warm and clean. Go, he whispered in my ear, his voice only for me. I'll be here when you get back. I'll be here when you get back. 4 simple words, but they felt like the most sincere promise I'd ever heard. It settled something in my chest, made me feel calm, safe. I looked up at him and saw nothing but sincerity and quiet hope in his eyes. I nodded hard, then turned and walked through security without looking back. I didn't glance over my shoulder, because I knew this wasn't the end. It was the start of something new, a bright, beautiful future. All mine. The plane climbed through the clouds, bright sunlight streaming through the window, filling the cabin. I opened the envelope Kai had given me. There were no travel guides inside, just a hand-drawn map of the world, with little red marks on every single place I'd mentioned wanting to visit. In passing, during our late-night talk in the hotel room, on the back of the map, in his neat, strong handwriting. Was a note. Iris. I lied to you. Am not the general counsel at Sterling Vance. Am a founding partner. Equal with Julian. I lied about something else. 2. My feelings for you aren't a passing thing. They've been a long time coming. The world is big. Take your time. See every corner of it. Walk it at your own pace. But please remember, no matter where you go, no matter how far, if you ever get tired, if you ever want to come home, I'll be right here, waiting for you, always. Tears streamed down my face again, but this time, they were happy tears, warm, sweet, full of hope. I folded the map carefully, tucking it away, and leaned against the window. I looked out at the endless blue sky, and smiled. The brightest, freest, happiest smile I'd worn in 5 years. Goodbye, Chadwick Hale. Goodbye to the stupid, painful lie of my past. Hello, Kai Sterling. Hello, my future.